Simone. Happy Thursday here with another video. Just wanted to pop in here and just share. Welcome to this week's video. I hope you guys are doing well.
Hey everybody, it's me, Simone. I know it's been a while since I've posted a video to YouTube, but I just missed you guys so much. I've been vacationing, I've been busy, I've just been doing a lot of different things, but I did not forget about each of you. So today I am going to share something with you that I thought was super important and something God pressed in my heart this morning. And it's a familiar passage of scripture, but it's just this thought of how maybe we just give up too soon on other people. Maybe we just lose faith in others so quickly. And imagine what our world would look like if we truly believed that people were redeemable, that they can come back to goodness, that they can return back to growing and becoming who God envisioned for them to be at the point of creation. And so I just want to share something with you guys really quickly, and let's talk about the prodigal son, okay? So first, let me just say that this passage of scripture is probably one of my favorites. It's so great that I wrote a poem about it and put it into my first book, For Him, For Them, and For Myself, available on Amazon. Just a shameless little plug. And it's something that I truly love. I love the story of someone kind of wanting something and thinking that they know that what's best, thinking that they know what's right, and they go out there and they lose it all just from making, poor decisions. But then, they come to themselves and they return home and they're restored and they're loved regardless. So let's kind of do a little inductive Bible study technique, and we're going to go kind of through the passage of scripture and learn from each other. And then, that's going to be it for today. So let's go to Luke chapter 15, and it's going to be starting at verse 11. And I'm reading from the ESV version. And so it says, "And he said, there was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need." Okay, so let's pause there. So the story opens up with a father talking to his 2 sons. And the younger son, there's an inheritance, there's a birthright. And according to Jewish history and Jewish law, parents would, like we do today, like when our parents or our siblings pass away, we may have an inheritance afforded to us. And by that passing, we'll get the amount of money or property or whatever that is deeded to us through a will or through some type of documentation. And so here in the scripture, the father is not passed away, but the younger son wants the share of his inheritance, the share of the property that would belong to him. And, what I like about this passage of scripture is that it doesn't say the father made a fit or asked a lot of questions. It just says that he gave it to him. The younger son asked and the father gave to him. Now, the father probably knew that the younger son wasn't mature enough for what he wanted. The father probably knew that the younger son could not handle what he was asking for. Like many of us, we ask for things that we cannot handle. We ask for things that we're not mature enough to maintain. We desire and we seek after things that we're not ready for. And we ask for it. And then sometimes God gives it to us. And sometimes he's like, nah. But in this case, the son got what he asked for. And what I love about that is it shows the trust of the father in what he placed in his son. Do you know what I'm saying? He trusted that the way he loved his son, the way he groomed his son, the way that he raised his son, that those nuggets and those principles will be in him, whether he got this inheritance or not. And so the father gave the younger son the property, and the younger son was foolish. He went out and he went to another country. He went far away from home. He went to live his best life, and he squandered everything he had. All of it is gone. And then after he squandered it through reckless living, scripture says that the famine came and he was now found to be in need. And I wonder how many of us find ourselves like the prodigal son. You know, we get what we want. We get the bag, we get the car, we get the money, we get the status, we get, the followers, we get all of this applause. And we get to this place as we ask for it. We want the influence, we want the notoriety, we want the attention. And we get out there and we squander everything given to us because through reckless living, through living a life that lacks wisdom. And so that is the case here in this text. And so as he moved forward, what's so crazy is that now the guy who had it all, he was the, baller, shot caller in the city, he's in need. And all those people that use his life as a vehicle to meet their own needs are gone. They're gone, right? And so he finds himself having to look for work. And scripture says in verse 15, so he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into his field to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. Verse 17, but when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants. So we see here that he finds himself as an indentured servant. He's out here finding a job, a day laborer, and he's a Jewish boy out here feeding pigs, touching the thing that, he's raised up to believe to be unclean. And that's what happens when we get out here living reckless and we lose our identity and we find ourselves touching things that we know are unclean. Trust me, I know, I've done it. The same girl that said I would never do that, out here doing stuff I had no business doing, right? Out here just making it. But I love that verse 17 says he came to himself. And how many people we know are just in a phase of life before they come to themselves. And we just give up on them. We're like, oh, they're always going to be that way, or they're never going to change, or they're this or they're that. And we label them their situation. We label them the ID labels or words or descriptions of their present circumstance, forgetting that they have a father who loves them and who still calls them by their giving destiny name. And this young man came to himself and he realized, I may not be worthy to be a son. I might have to go back being a servant for my father, but I have a home and I have the right to go back there. And I just want to plug this in, that no matter how far you find yourself, you have a home. And you have a right to go back to your home. You have a right to return back to who you know you're designed to be. Even if other people don't see it in you anymore. God still sees it. I still see it. And there's a community, a tribe of people who are not willing to give up on you. Okay? And so we continue. This young man, he arose, verse 20, and came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring quickly the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to celebrate. And I love that passage because scripture says that the father saw him a long way off, which tells me that his dad was waiting every day, longing for the return of his son. He had hope that his son will come back. He never gave up on his son. And how many of us are so willing to give up on people? We stop looking for them. We stop expecting them to be good. We stop expecting them to find their way back. We stop praying for them. We stop speaking well of them. How many of us, and I can tell when we give up on people because our language about them changes. We now be like, well, that's how they are, and they're never going to be this, and they're never going to be that. But I love the model of the Father, because the Father never gave up. He looked and saw his son afar off because he had hope that his son was going to return. And I'm telling you, whether you're praying for a loved one or a spouse or a child or about a situation, hope in God, and hope in the fact that things can change. Hope in that. Find rest in that. That this person and this thing is not going to be this way forever. That even if people lose their way, grace reminds them of who they are. Grace had to remind me of who I was, because I lost my way. I have friends who've lost their way. I have a sibling who's lost her way. But God has been so good to bring us back home. And the story shows this young man came to himself. And he came home, and the Father loved him. And he didn't remind him of his mistakes. He didn't hold his record against him. He didn't go, oh, you're foolish, so come out here and work in the field. But no, his Father celebrated that he made the decision to come home. He put a robe on his back and a ring on his hand. And God is telling us, be people that when people return home, don't beat over their head their track record. Don't beat over their head the receipts of what they've done. Put a robe on their back and a ring on their hand. Honor the fact that they came home. Honor the fact that they came to themselves. Give grace. Give compassion. Give mercy. Because when they were out there, even myself wilding, when I was out there wilding, I knew I didn't deserve grace. You know what I'm saying? I don't need nobody tell me I don't deserve grace. I know that already. I don't need no one condemning me. I've already done that to myself. But the biggest thing that changed my life was when someone said, you know what? You don't deserve this grace, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. That grace and mercy found me, and love kept me, and it drew me home. Let's be people who draw people back to God, that draw them home. Be a person that put a robe on their back and a ring on their hand. That's pretty much it for today. I just want to remind us to not give up so soon on other people. I want to remind us to love like Christ loves. And love is full of hope and expectation and anticipation. Hope and love coincide one to another. Hope gives us vision, and love gives us compassion to move and act. And let us just be kind. Like when people return back into our space or whatever situation, when they come with apologies, when they come wanting to make reconciliation, when they come wanting to have restoration come to pass in that relationship or, that situation, just be kind and be open and just show love and don't hold receipts. Because a lot of times we hold receipts because we don't believe people can change. But we wouldn't want the same thing to be said about us when we need change. We hold receipts because we're like, this is exactly who you are. But people change. People evolve. And we have to allow ourselves to be filled with the love of God, to allow people to change for the better. Sometimes people are going to be bad people. And we have wisdom to create boundaries and access for that. But then sometimes people change and they grow. And we have to get rid of our record so that we can love them well. Because love holds no receipts. That is the Simone version of 1 Corinthians 13. Love holds no receipts. It keeps no record of wrong. It gives blank slates. It allows grace to move. Well, have a great evening. I love you guys, and it's been a pleasure. Have a good one. Bye.